Okay, we are up. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. And by the time the channel is still named Lucifer, but I will be changing it, which I haven't done in the last 2.5 years, or a few and a half years or whatever. The channel will be officially named Paka. Okay, Paka being spelled P-A-K-A. So yeah, it took me a while to change my name and stuff. I was thinking of some good ideas that I could do, but today we are reacting to Game Theory. The prototype is Poppy. Okay, and now this has been like a little thing that's been going around the internet, and I was kind of like, nah, this is gonna be another FNAF knockoff. But turns out I played Poppy Playtime the first chapter like a few days ago, I think, and it was good. It lasted like over probably like what felt like 20 minutes maybe at most, but I don't know the real story of Poppy Playtime, so that's what we're going to be doing here in this video. So my name is Paka, or TJR, whatever you like to call me. I go by 2 of those names. Leave a like, subscribe, notifications, turn on all notifications to stay up. Yeah, to stay tuned with my latest videos, or my best videos. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you can press that like button or subscribe button, that would be really helpful and get the word around. A small upcoming YouTuber, you know. But yeah, let's get into this. I'm really excited to learn the lore because I have been out of tap with like I haven't been locked in with video games that much recently. So this will be like the first video game that I actually get locked in with. Now this ain't the storyline, but I will do that in another video. So yeah, let's get into this.
This prototype really is. No, for real this time.
I'll turn that down.
Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that...
Also, rest in peace, MatPat. You will be missed on YouTube. Please come back. Just a few more years. Please, MatPat, we need you. It ain't the same no more. But I do like the new game theorists that they got here. So, it is who it is. But yeah, rest in peace, MatPat. You won't be forgotten. So yeah.
Keeps asking, what's their deal? You see, theorists, this video was supposed to be my updated Poppy Play timeline. Every single year I do one of these videos, and when I do, I go back and recheck all of the official canon media to see if there's anything I've missed. And I do mean all the canon media. The game, the 2 ARGs, the book, the Roblox spin-off, the Fortnite collaborations, the Minecraft collaborations, and yes, even those dodgy NFTs we don't like talking about. All with the plan of having it ready for Chapter 5's release. I thought it was actually going to be pretty simple. Chapter 4 didn't really change that much from our previous timeline. All I would have to do is polish up some things, add our Chapter 4 theories, and that's it. Easy peasy. But then, Mob released a few new teasers, and with them, I noticed one small detail that completely changed my understanding of this franchise's arguably most mysterious character.
So, if I'm getting this right, Chapter 4 of Poppy Playtime was last year, and this year is supposed to be Chapter 5. Okay.
006, the prototype. He's the big bad of this series, and it's looking like we're finally going to get to meet him face to face in this upcoming chapter. But for the fanbase, the main thing we've been wondering is, who is he? First, we thought it was Elliot Ludwig, the founder of Playtime Co. Then we thought it might have been Rich, the disgruntled...
I don't remember how these other people got bodied, but I sure remember how Mommy got bodied, along with Huggy. Whew, if y'all want to bring them back in that next chapter, we can run them ones again. Because best believe, yeah, it ain't going to end well for them this time. But yeah, I remember how Mommy got bodied. I remember how she got bodied. Along with Huggy. Nigga had him ragdolling.
worker that climbed the ranks. Then we thought it was Elliot again, only this time he was a clone. It's complicated, don't ask. The point is, with every new update we think we've nailed down his identity, only for another update to drop that throws the identity into question once again. But now, loyal theorists, I feel like I finally, truly cracked it. And it answers everything. Why is he obsessed with Poppy? What makes them different from the other experiments? And what it all has to do with Elliot Ludwig's embryology experiments. So, put on your trusty grab pack, theorists, because it's time to launch ourselves into this theory. Try not to get too shocked by the answers. I promise they're not too much of a stretch. Alright, I'm done. Let's get on with it. So, first things first, let's talk about what exactly this guy is going to look like. Up until now, all we've really seen of them is their spindly fingers and their shadowy spider-like legs. Well, over the holidays, Mob decided to give all of us a present. More details about 1006's appearance. The main one is this New Year's Day post that shows Poppy standing opposite the prototype's hand, which is holding a poppy flower with 4 of its legs stretching into the light. It's quite an...
Hold on, is that a jester? I just noticed. Is that like jester clothing? Like, you know what Pomni is from the Amazing Digital Circus, which I haven't forgot. That reaction is still coming. There's some complications, but that's kind of what it looks like. A jester hand.
4 of its legs stretching into the light. It's quite an intimidating image, although Poppy is very small, so I'm not sure he'll be this large and intimidating in reality, but looking at the legs, you can see that we have been right about at least part of 1006's creation. We suspected it to be a hybrid of human parts and machines, given the bone-like structure in the arm as well as the red and blue veins that run up and down it. And here we can see that the legs aren't just mechanical. They involve muscles and tendons that you would see on joints like this to help the legs move. And you can see these muscles even closer on the limited edition shirt that we've got right now at theoryverse.store. It's only available for the next 48 hours, so click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to grab it this weekend before it's gone for good. But that wasn't the only interesting part about this New Year's Day image. I mentioned 1006 is holding a poppy flower. Well, now take a look at this Christmas artwork Mob posted. See anything familiar? No? How about now? Still no? Okay. How about now? Right in the back is a picture of a man holding a poppy.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
It's actually based off of a tarot card called the Fool. I mean, just look at them. They're practically identical. Tarot cards have a lot of different meanings and interpretations.
So, despite me not playing Playtime, I am a huge, well, not huge fan. I'm like, I know a lot, but I don't know a lot at the same time. It goes the same way with FNAF. I wasn't that tapped into FNAF, but I am, like, you know, I do have the knowledge to know about, like, how Emily betrayed Afton or whatever. Or, yeah, Afton betraying Emily and him bailing him out of bankruptcy. Damn, that's hard to pronounce. But, yeah, I do know about that.
But one that I got from our HR manager and resident tarot card reader Rachel is that while it can represent good things like new beginnings and childlike confidence, it can also represent naivety, ignorance, and lack of experience, with the outcome being to try and encourage the reader to be cautious and warning them of the importance of being informed and prepared. All things which to me sound just like the prototype. We know they're experimenting with finding the secret, something which he needed the Doctor's help with, but now the Doctor's gone. So 1006 is on their own working on the experiment. They haven't got that experience and they're naive about how easy it's going to be to overcome. Jumping off the edge of the cliff.
Hold on. Now I'm confused even more. That thing just threw me off. So, chapter... Let me know in the comments, because I'm hella confused. I thought chapter 3 was this year. Or was that chapter 4? I don't know. Let me know about that in the comments.
Reckless abandon, like the Fool walking off the cliff in the tarot card. So if this is meant to be the prototype, what does that tell us about his design? Well, the Fool is often portrayed as a red, blue, and yellow jester-like character. And if you've been a fan of this franchise for as long as I have, alarm bells just started going off in your head. During the chapter 4 AI...
Isn't that the same color as the Fool's?
...appeared in one of the puzzles after you put all of the versions of Harley's notes together. At the time, we wondered if this was going to be the upcoming Doughy the Doughman, or maybe another Chapter 4 villain we'd yet to meet. However, nothing ever came of it. No new toy, no new experiments, nothing. And so it's just sat there living in my head rent-free, haunting me until now. Because if the prototype is associated with a card often depicted in Playtime's signature red, blue, and yellow color scheme, then I think we have found our match. The prototype 1006 is the missing Jester. Just look at the arm holding the Poppy again in the New Year's teaser. It looks like a grab pack, sure, but it also looks like a yellow sleeve with a blue puffy shoulder in the background, like the one we see on the tarot.
Right, no.
Has spider-like robot legs and arms, but they've specifically kept the rest of him hidden. The part that I suspect will look like a Jester.
This is like one of those creepy ass Elden Ring bosses. I am not playing Chapter 5
They
again.
weren't able to make him a perfect little toy. They had to make some compromises, like nightmare-inducing spider legs. Now, that's all well and good. I'm finally glad we were able to make some use of this random Jester clue, but that's just what he looks like. Let's be honest, what we really want to know is who the prototype is. Or should I say, who they were before they became the prototype. All the toys here were children transformed into toys. Even Poppy was the daughter of Elliot Ludwig, brought back from the grave. As I mentioned earlier in our last Chapter 4 theory, I theorized...
So it is kind of like FNAF in a sense. I'm understanding from this. It was kind of like FNAF, but not at the same time. Like, you don't have multiple locations and then them getting burnt down over years and years of stuff. And then, like, you have a prequel game that's, like, before, like, the actual 2014 game.
That it was a genetically modified clone of Elliot Ludwig himself, forced to grow into this monstrous metal frame as part of the Bigger Bodies initiative. It was
Hold the hell on. I'm just now noticing how advanced this is for the 1900s game. We didn't, like, 1900s where phones look like boxes but were hella indestructible compared to modern day phones. If you see iPhones, them bitches are weak as hell. I can snap them bitches. But yeah. Like, I'm just noticing we have FNAF Security Breach. And then before that, it was FNAF 3, where he started, like, experiment. Like, no, that was Sister Location. Well, Sister Location before, whatever time, I think it was, like, FNAF 2 or FNAF 1. Yeah, it was, like, when he was experimenting and then, like, injecting these robots with these, like, with this soul-type liquid. Did I jerk my hand, gang? Whoa, okay. But yeah, he was like injecting them with this weird like soul liquid. Like, I'm like, how the hell do you harness like soul energy? Are you a sorcerer, gang? And then it gets even more confusing with Poppy Playtime, because keep in mind, this is like only the 1900s. But somehow they have this much advanced technology. Wait, is this a universe where America's ahead of China? I feel like that's what this would be. But yeah, like, keep in mind, FNAF, Poppy Playtime, all those games are based in the 1900s. At least the first parts of those games are based in the 1900s. Like, that is freaking crazy. You have all this advanced technology, and it gets even more crazily advanced by Security Breach. That is crazy. What is the correlation? I don't know. Paka, are you just yapping again? Yes, I am.
Orientation notebook, we saw that Elliot had recreated his and Poppy's home inside the factory, the room where we first met Poppy in Chapter 1. So for 1006 to be calling her home, it felt like it was referring to...
I have a question. If they're all children, like, and children were at the factory at the time of the Hour of Joy, why massacre the children if you guys wanted to, if you guys were children too? That don't make sense.
Their home. But as I was going back through all of the dates and documents for my timeline video, which is harder than you'd think because most of the documents in this game are left completely undated, which is horrible business practice, by the way. Yet another reason why Playtime Co is completely defunct, but regardless, by doing it, I rediscovered this document from the Chapter 3 ARG. It's the case report for Catnap, and in it, Lise Pierre, the head of innovation, mentions that Catnap is getting on very well with the prototype, and that Lockhart, their private investigator, had some theories about why that is, dating back to 1989. Now, we know that Catnap wasn't created until November 20th, 1990 under Harley Sawyer, thanks to the Orientation Notebook, which means this 1989 theory must be related to 1006. But that presents us with a dilemma, because Harley Sawyer didn't start the Bigger Bodies Initiative until he rejoined the company on January 15th, 1990.
Wait, they started the Bigger Body Initiatives. Why did they only do it for Catnap and Dog Day? And why was Dog Day chained up in Chapter 3 it was? Yeah, Chapter 3. Why was he chained up in Chapter 3 in the freaking little confinement padding cell down below wherever the hell that was? But that location was insanely scary to me. But yeah, why was he chained up down there? And then why didn't we get a bigger body of the rest of them, like Bubba Fett and Hug Bear, or whatever the hell she is?
Meaning 1006 isn't a bigger body, but something else. This explains why Harley struggled so much with the creation of the bigger bodies. The earliest experiment we know of Harley's officially was Experiment 1015. It's noted as being a complete failure, which felt a little unusual if Harley had already successfully made...
Now my theory for it, because I saw this. What, like, they said every experiment of Harley Sawyer's was perfect. But the question is, why did he struggle so much right here? Right here, what got me when I was reading these notes. Why did he struggle so much right here when every other experiment was completely perfect? Was he trying to copy someone and then the experiment went wrong? Because if he was, that makes a whole lot of sense.
The prototype. Why now is he struggling 9 experiments later? But
yeah, 9 experiments.
First time trying to replicate someone else's findings, his confusion makes way more sense. And with that in mind, I knew I needed to go.
See, I was right. I was freaking right. Cause like it was 9 experiments. Half of those experiments we didn't know what they were. Well, I think we did know what experiment 2 and 3 was, but we didn't know what experiment 1 or 4 was. And then now he struggled with being confused about how to make the experiment that he so-called came up with by himself. Unless if he was copying someone.
Wait even more to figure out what exactly the prototype is. The only experiment we know of before the prototype is Experiment 814. In previous theories, we've continued to assume that this experiment was conducted by Harley, mostly because of the final line. Perhaps something larger than a rat would yield different results, implying the whole wanting to experiment on orphans thing, which led to the whole using orphans to make creepy toy monsters thing. But with this change in the prototype's timeline,
But why create the nightmare? Here's what confused me in general. Why create the nightmare critters or whatever if you're not going to release them to the public and only have them be exclusive in the factory? What were the nightmare critters for? Like, did anybody ever ask that question? Because when I was running through the game, like, I saw a bunch of nightmare critters. But they didn't show, like, there was no piece of paper about them where it said what they were made for. Please cover that in this video, because that would be a lot better for me to understand than why they made it versus them just generally not releasing it to the public.
It can't be Harley trying to make a bigger body, but someone else trying to revive something or someone that has died. And remind me, where do we find this document again? It's inside Elliot Ludwig's office.
But again, they were ordered. Like, Elliot Ludwig, like, Loki, he might be an op to me because, like, I don't believe it was him who, like, initiated the order to have them, like, only clean around the area and stuff of his desk, or not to go inside the desk or not touch these books right here. But I do believe there was some part of him that was trying to hide something that he was doing. So if that's, like, if he was doing this before he even made the factory, like killing people way before this, that would make a whole lot of sense. Because he had a bunch of files in there and stuff. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if you found anything before the factory was ever built.
Same place, we find a VHS tape telling us about his tragic family loss.
In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. How did he manage to stay determined even after suffering such a tragic loss?
He was up to something. He was trying to revive his daughter the whole entire time. And technically thinking about it, him and William is the same. I wouldn't even be surprised if these two universes are fucking connected in some sort of way, because you have two of the same practical people with the same personalities who came from humble beginnings, but over time descended into madness because of what they want. Does that make sense? Or Parker, are you just talking again to be talking? Like, come on, bro. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these universes are connected, because it does line up with the, I mean, technically not, because 1987 was by 87. Yeah, no.
Analyze the top of Experiment 814. The handwriting looks very similar to the signature Elliot used on his letter firing Harley. In both documents, the letters are slanted to the same angle, the E's are written with a very similar curvy nature, and the I's are also slanted in that similar direction. This is Elliot's handwriting. Experiment 814 isn't about Harley's twisted desire to create bigger bodies from orphans. It was Elliot's desperate attempt to raise his child from the dead. He knew he'd be testing on larger subjects next.
See, this is why, like, we're gonna die in 2032, because, like, we genuinely can't be happy for what we get. Like, you got crazy people out here doing this, doing that. Like, just build a robot. Just build a regular robot. Sure, it might have a few kinks to work out, but just make it like that, and then you can upgrade it over time. You don't have to kill children just to make a robot perfect or experience human emotions. Like, bro, come on. This is why we're all gonna die, because we can't be satisfied with what we have.
Daughter was always the goal. This means that 814 could be a lot older than we've ever thought. I mean, the paper itself is probably the most old and decrepit piece of paper we've seen in the series so far, and that's saying something because this game has a lot of old decrepit pieces of paper, but it looks to me, it looks old enough to potentially be from the same time as the Young Geniuses program. In case you don't remember, the Young Geniuses program was Elliot Ludwig's attempt to foster the next generation of inventors, including the infamous Harley Sawyer, so you can see how well that went. Once again, we don't have any evidence about its exact...
Yeah, it was sketchy. You shouldn't have picked him to begin with. Like, picking him was the worst mistake you could have ever made.
Place in the timeline, but by looking at the poster used to advertise the program, we can see that the logo they use in the bottom corner is actually the old Playtime logo. The first time we see the more modern logo pop up in the timeline is during the Playcare introduction video, and thanks to our handy dandy orientation notebook, we know that Playcare opened in 1976. So, the Young Geniuses program would have existed sometime between the company's founding in 1930 and that 1976 advertisement. But we can actually narrow it down a bit further thanks to other elements of the poster's design. It's very reminiscent of the 1960s with its bright colours and bold lettering. Plus, during the 60s, President Lyndon B. Johnson was pushing a new progressive set of policies known as the Great Society. Johnson hoped to build a better future for all Americans, and a lot of the programs focused on helping disadvantaged youth get access to the same opportunities as their peers.
The Great Society is a place where every child can find knowledge to enrich his mind and to enlarge his talent.
Federal programs like the Neighborhood Youth Corps were made to encourage kids to get involved in their community and to connect them with local organizations to get job training or potential career opportunities. Something like Playtime Co.'s Young Geniuses program would fit right in. And it works out pretty nicely because it's right about when Elliot loses his daughter. He would want to bring in a bunch of kids to help him fill the child-shaped hole in his heart, figuratively and literally.
Okay, Epstein. Yep, this just sounds like a story about Epstein now.
These kids were smart, helping to push the boundaries of scientific advancement, like helping in the research of how to bring a child back to life as a toy. I theorized last time that the poem we saw at the end of the previous teaser, the one that asks, "Is this life?" was from one of those young geniuses. Someone who'd achieved the impossible with Poppy, but recognized the flaw in it. This new timeline would seem to agree with that idea, that the young geniuses were started in the 1960s as part of
Now this is the part that I don't really know about. I know about the other stuff, but I didn't know about the Geniuses program. Like I knew about the old logo stuff, but not the Genius program. Isn't that weird? But yeah.
plan to bring Poppy back to life. However, this does raise the issue of Harley. We know that he was a young genius, and yet throughout the games, we've seen that Harley doesn't understand Poppy or the prototype.
It's been weeks and weeks of taking things out and putting them back in, and taking things out and putting them back in.
The prototype. Stubborn.
And think about it, I know some people were scarred from this too. Like, bro, having to like experiment on little kids and like put a towel over their mouth with like sleeping drugs and just take them apart. I know that messes with your head in some type of way. Like, this is why I can't work for a factory. I work for a factory. Best believe I'm leaking all y'all information.
And always silent.
So as I find something involving little kids, y'all information getting leaked.
Passing session. I'm still uncovering fresh data nonetheless.
If I'm right and these experiments were part of the Young Geniuses program, there wouldn't be any secret. He'd just know. Except he was removed from the program by Elliot at some point, and at a young enough age that he still holds a grudge against Elliot to this day. So it is possible that he was around for experiments like 814, but was fired before they were able to successfully create something like the prototype, which is why we see him using some of Elliot's teachings about embryology and the Poppy gel, and why he's so surprised when he sees Poppy for the first time. Quote, "Is it her? That's impossible." When Harley returned to Playtime Co. all those years later, he never expected Elliot's caring approach to yield results, and so he needed to figure out how they worked in order to succeed. His experiments worked, sure, but he didn't truly understand the secret. But all of that brings us back to the main question I asked at the start. Who is the prototype? If he's not part of Harley's Big Bodies initiative and instead was part of Elliot and the Young Geniuses experiments well before that, does it make sense for him to still be a clone of Elliot Ludwig like I theorized about previously? The answer is a resounding no. And the reason I think that is all because of this video that Mob released just a few months ago. It starts out as a simple OmniHand user guide, but about halfway through the video, the VHS is suddenly overwritten with footage of the Doctor watching the player's journey through the cameras around the factory, similar to what we saw in the build-up to Chapter 4. Specifically, it shows us the moment that Yarnaby is released to chase us. But what's really important is what's on the side of the monitors. The sticky note on the left side says, "Keep an eye on 1007, 1172, and 1322. All experiment numbers. We already know that 1172 is Kissy and 1322 is Dowie. But who is 1007? They've never been mentioned before, and it's exactly one experiment number after the prototype. Harley started running his project around experiment 1015, which, as I said before, was a notable failure. So I don't think 1007 was conducted by him. His success didn't come around until 1160, Boxy Boo. And looking at this list with the context of this being while Harley is spying on us during Chapter 4, I think it becomes pretty clear who it's supposed to be. Who would you say our three main allies are in Chapter 4? The three experiments who help us throughout the chapter that Harley would likely want to keep an eye on. Kissy, Doughy, and Poppy. Guys, I believe that Poppy is experiment 1007. She's
Most likely.
the only ally on
Most likely, I ain't even gonna hold you.
that is
Like, when you really think about it, that would make a lot more sense. Because I don't know if you guys played or read one of the books. There was something about a like missing experiment, and I think that might be her. Like, I'm not gonna hold you. Like, it was something. I remember it was like a book. I think it was that little guy thingy he was talking about, where it showed like how you had to play the games in order and stuff, and like complete certain challenges in like different chapters. There was something like, when I was reading that book, there was something about a missing experiment after 106, if that's the prototype. And I was like, is it Poppy? Because like, when you think about it, they haven't said anything about Poppy being an experiment. Chapter 1, you didn't get nothing confirmed. Chapter 2, nothing really was said. Chapter 3, nothing was said. Well, I mean, technically, but other than that, not really, like, spoken out or posted on social media. And then when you get to Chapter 4, things start clicking a little bit. You start realizing things about Poppy and the prototype and the doctor. But I was, like, from my personal standpoint, I would say Poppy isn't 1007. And if so, who was she made by? Like, it says she was made by Playtime Co., but that's a company of a bunch of people. But, like, the individual person who came up with her, and no, it was not Elliot Ludwig or Harley Sawyer. Like, it just said Playtime Co. came up with it. Nothing about an individual person or whatnot who came up with it.
Accounted for. We know that he actively wants to keep an eye on Poppy specifically because she is defying his ally, the prototype, and because, in his words, her path leads to ruin. He was trying to recreate the magic of Poppy, and in doing so, ended up being turned into an experiment himself, and eventually died at our hand. And finally, that number is an Elliot experiment, where the whole goal was to bring Poppy back to life in the first place. That feels like a huge reveal in and of itself, but I need you to stay with me for just a little longer, because if Poppy is 1007, then what does that make 1006? They're called the prototype, which we've assumed was because they were a prototype of the bigger bodies, but that never sat right with Boxy Boo being Harley's first success hundreds of experiments later.
The first of many. You have proven my bigger body's initiative a success.
With Poppy being 1007, that shines a whole new light on them. They're not just any prototype. They are a prototype for Poppy. That might seem like a huge stretch, especially when I spent the whole first half of this episode talking about how the prototype is going to be a jester, which Poppy is most certainly not. But hear me out. Look at all the Chapter 5 marketing materials. Poppy is everywhere. There's a Poppy cutter that's on fire, burning in the hallway of the lab, covered in Poppy gel, the thing used to bring her to life inside the prototype's domain. There's empty Poppy masks in the promotional images and in the teasers. We are being shown the failed attempts at creating Poppy, the empty masks and the spilled gel that fills the labs. The prototype dwells here because this was also their birthing place, surrounded by hundreds of other failed experiments. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if when we finally see the prototype's face, behind its jester aesthetic, we see another empty Poppy mask.
Oh, you know that thing from Toy Story? The ugly spider baby thing? That's what I just got flashbacks to. Oh my god, that thing was hideous. If people don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Toy Story 1. Classic banger. But there's the exact thing that looks like this. It has a baby head and spider legs. And then maybe arms. I can't remember. But God, it was creepy.
Perfect experiment staring back at us. It would also make way more...
If you technically think about it, Poppy Playtime is just a darker version of Toy Story. That's all this is. Just a darker version of Toy Story game.
Sense why the Fool Tarot card was used. Remember, one of its big traits is childlike wonder and naivety. 1006 isn't proud or ignorant because of its intelligence. It's just a child that thinks it knows best and is being told no. It doesn't fully understand the complexities of how to achieve what it wants, which is why it needs the help from people like the Doctor. It really is a fool jumping blind.
That's sad. When you think about that more, that is sad. And that kind of does reflect modern day society. It's just like certain people, like, they are smart, but they use their like brain power for the wrong things. So like, they see you want something, they gonna take advantage of you. That's what most people gonna do. And I kind of like do feel sad for the prototype. But damn, that's a sad way to think of it. Because bro, you just like you are a fool. You're the fool for like falling into a trap. But like, it's just sad because you don't like, you feel like you're being told no. It just doesn't make sense to you. But I do relate with the prototype on some level here. Like, kids just want to be happy. That's all.
Into a world it doesn't even fully understand itself. The prototype was the first time Elliot got close to bringing back his daughter, but it was just an experiment. They'd been making biological toys for years, but before he put his daughter into one, he needed to experiment to prove that he could actually bring his daughter back. The prototype is just that, an experiment, a mishmash of mechanical and biological parts. They didn't need the body to be perfect, they just needed it to work. The hope was that some combination of biological and synthetic would bring his daughter back, and when it did, he was then able to move on to the real thing, using his daughter's cells to bring her back to life inside the perfect little doll, a doll that she inspired in the first place. The prototype was then left abandoned, a monster created out of pure love, only to be discarded by Elliot Ludwig in favor of the newer, more perfect Poppy. I predict that 1006 was then turned into a jester, a character often depicted with red hair, by the way. Now it would at least have some use in the factory. It was literally branded the Fool by Elliot, a joke, a laughing stock. And so, as the years passed, as Harley came in and began creating more broken and failed experiments like Catnap, 1006 took them under their wing, protecting them and bonding with them, because it too is a child that felt unloved and betrayed by those who swore to protect them. But just as Lockhart put in the...
Damn, that is sad. But okay, I did learn something. No matter how naive or like how desperate a child seems, don't take advantage of that. Like, that's just not cool. Don't take advantage of that. And I kind of do relate with all of them. Like, despite me being a huge op with Mommy Longlegs, like, I kind of did understand, like, but she didn't understand when it came to the children. Like, she was saying something about in chapter 2 how, like, they all came for finding games and then they left. Mommy was so lonely. But, like, that's the time when they started taking those children and killing them. Like, they just took those children down to Playcare and started killing them one by one. So I can see why she's mad, but at the same time, like, it's just wrong to kill people because your so-called kids went missing. That's not our problem. We just coming back to the factory. We used to work here, but we only work on the upper surface of the part, like secretaries. Like, that's all we did. We didn't do nothing to y'all. But yeah, Huggy Wuggy. Like, it's obvious. Like, actually, I don't even know what the whole deal with Huggy Wuggy was. Like, I didn't really understand him. He was just huge out to me. And when I saw that crate, boom, off you go, buddy. But yeah, that is kind of sad when you think about it. Like, every last experiment, catnap, like, they was just all manipulated. But it wasn't clear if Mommy Longlegs was a kid when she got killed. Like, when they put her into one of the bigger body thingies. It wasn't, like, clarified if she was killed or not. As an adult or a kid, it wasn't clarified on that. But yeah, catnap, he's the saddest by far.
Or that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. World premiere on Game Theory.
Well, thank you, Game Theory, for explaining almost half of the timeline of Poppy Playtime. No pun intended. But yeah, thank you, Game Theory. Rest in peace, Matt Pat. We will miss you. And yeah, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below what I should do next or whatever. I will say this now. There might be better editing quality, but I can't promise that. I can only say about the now versus the past or the future. Well, I can say about the past, but the future, you know, I can't say nothing about that. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what I should do next. And I will give y'all that Honkai Star Rail playthrough. But not Zilla Zone Zero, because we can all agree that shit is trash. Gameplay mechanics are peak, but characters are heavily overly sexualized. So yeah, peace. I wanna party with you all night. You should party with you all night.